I don't even understand what's really going on because, look, I went to work today for my 12-hour shift. I arrived at my shift as usual, worked as usual. I left the C-section and set up the surgery, and my colleague called me to check the baby's blood sugar, which was low. I went there, checked the blood sugar, warmed up the baby, it was low. I asked her to request milk for the baby from the milk bank and to inform the nurse. So it was me and another colleague, and I even joked with her. We always work and joke around, everyone does. It's like a second family. I love my job very much. I would never do anything that would jeopardize my job. And I said, how about we play a prank on the girl from security? We take the baby out and see if they say anything. So I took the baby and she said, wow, Eliane, really? And I said, really? It's just a little prank. Then I took the baby and there's a gate. I opened the door and went through. Then the security lady said, ma'am, where are you going with the baby? And I didn't answer. Then I turned around, smiled at her. The distance was just a few centimeters. I didn't leave the hospital. I didn't leave the unit. I opened the door, walked a few meters and told her, you know. Then she said, where are you going with the baby? Then I turned, smiled at her and said, ma'am, it was just a joke. You passed the test. So I joked, went back inside the surgical center, went to the recovery room, picked up the baby, gave him to the mother, asked my colleague if she had gotten the milk, and the milk hadn't arrived yet. The other colleague I told about the joke helped the baby breastfeed, so I never intended to take the newborn away from the mother. I've worked in several hospitals. I take care of the children. I never had that intention, never. There's something else too. If I had that intention, I wouldn't have talked to my colleague and said we were going to joke around.
I was at my post, which is the obstetrics unit, when I saw that lady, the employee, right? Properly in uniform with the bulge, right? And we find it strange because nothing leaves without being documented and nothing comes in without being logged by a staff member. So I started following her. Ma'am, why are you carrying that? Ma'am, please, what do you have? And she didn't stop. A little further ahead, it's a hallway, right? Maybe about 10 or 15 meters. Then the other colleague saw her up ahead and stopped her. And then she looked at me, gave me a big smile and said, it's strange, isn't it? It's a delicate situation, right? How can you not get emotional, right, Fred? Yeah, it's really strange. Then she looked at me and said, it's a joke, it's a test. And congratulations, you passed the test. Then I looked at her and said, ma'am, what a situation. This situation is going to harm a lot of people. It's a test, a joke. You shouldn't do that. What you did was unpleasant, ma'am. This is going to weigh on a lot of people. So, are we going back? Then she, coming back with me, stopped again and said, congratulations. This was a joke and it was a test. And I repeated to her, this is going to weigh on a lot of people. It's going to be costly, ma'am. Please, let's go in because we have to be polite and all, right? Then she went in and right after, who did I look for? Our supervisor to check the situation. What kind of test is this? What kind of joke is this that should never have happened, right?
Let me ask you, did you believe it at any moment?
That it was a test? There are no tests because whenever anything happens, we're notified by the company, by the hospital, like, this is going to happen, everyone. There's going to be a meeting, right? The company carefully selected us for this so that nothing would be taken out. And it was really strange. First of all, when I saw that bundle, which was a hospital blanket, and we get so used to knowing the hospital materials, right? Strange. That's when I realized something was wrong. That's when I stood up and said, ma'am, for God's sake, please don't do this, ma'am. Then she came back, the supervisor came, like I said, right? Because we called him, we looked for her, they asked me who it was. I said, that lady over there. Then we called, then I went to meet the supervisor, the nursing team, we went to a room and talked. Actually, I didn't. The staff talked to her and she said again that she didn't want to harm anyone. It was simply a joke and a test.
Gente do céu, como assim? Nursing needs people like this so we don't ruin our image, guys. Man, that's horrible. Guys, do you want to play? Do you want to play? Would you like to run a test if that were the case? Look, grab a doll. Nothing happened. Man, a newborn with hypoglycemia was just born, right? According to her, the blood sugar was, then they're going to do a test, just for fun. Guys, now we're going to mess around with someone else's kid. You can't describe that in a code of ethics. You can't even imagine that someone could ever joke about testing the security of someone's workplace using someone else's kid. A newborn, man. How many cases are there of babies switched at the maternity ward? People who were kidnapped? People in a maternity ward? It's a delicate moment, a moment when life begins. The mother is there in post-op, just finishing a C-section surgery. Someone joking around with a newborn baby, people, for God's sake. It's absurd, even if she didn't intend to steal that child, and I don't even know what her real intention was, but even if she didn't mean to, guys, what kind of joke is this? Joking around with someone who's working. A person who's working there in a security uniform, you're going to test the person. For what purpose? And another thing, if a baby is hypoglycemic, are you going to take them out of the maternity ward? Take them out of that environment into another one? Seriously, guys. It's unnecessarily damaging the profession. They'll have to answer for it, and it reflects poorly on the profession. You understand? That's the point. If they're a public servant, they'll likely be dismissed. Because, man, look at the impact this had in the federal district and certainly elsewhere in Brazil, too. So, guys, for God's sake, okay? You shouldn't mess with other people's belongings. Imagine something that's a human being, even if they're small. So, what's your opinion? Tell me, because I don't even know what to say. Because, man, it's unnecessary, man. Man, it's unnecessary. Like going out with a newborn in your arms just to test the security staff. Man, what kind of joke is that, man? We nurses, we already have a lot of work to do. A lot of things to handle. Oh, let's play around and test the security. Man, look at that. Look, that's just absurd to me. There was no mistake that put anyone's life at risk. But it could have. She, with hypoglycemia, shouldn't have been moving around with that baby until the baby had some milk. So this situation is unnecessary. Honestly, guys. Honestly.